Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great today. Okay, so I stumbled on this screaming headline that literally unsettled me. And honestly, I felt like it was time to just share, because it's been a while since I actually updated us on what is going on between Russia and Ukraine, which I have said several times has a whole lot to do with whatever is going on in Africa. These things are all connected. All the wars are connected. All the revolutionary actions you see in Africa are connected to what is happening in Russia. I've talked a lot about this, especially on my Twitter handle. So I have always been very interested in knowing what is going on. And I have also known that if we are not careful with what is going on between Russia and Ukraine and NATO and all their allies in Ukraine, we might end up at a place that we all have never wished to be, which is World War III. And seeing the headline that I'm about to share with you right now unsettled me so badly, because it almost appeared as if we finally have arrived at that place. Here's the headline. It says, Putin orders first ever nationwide nuclear drill, prepares nuclear bomb test at Arctic Circle. Now, the document goes further to say the drill will be held just 4 days ahead of Putin's 71st birthday. The one-day nuclear attack exercise is based on the assumption that NATO will launch a nuclear strike on Russia, destroying 70% of Russian housing and life support facilities. In the scenario, martial law is imposed in the country and a full-scale mobilization is ordered. The test will also model the secondary threat posed by damage to nuclear power plants and other key facilities. State and the regional authorities will have to organize emergency rescue teams to provide food, medical supplies, and protection against radiation. Why was I unsettled by this headline? First, it says this is the first ever. I hope you understand this. It is the first ever. It has never happened before. Before a sovereign nation, a nuclear power, begins to order a nuclear drill in their country, it simply means they have a very credible intelligence that an enemy country is about to launch a nuclear attack on them. In this case, the report says that they believe that NATO is about to launch a nuclear attack on Russia. Now, if NATO is about to launch a nuclear attack on Russia, why now? Why would NATO be wanting to launch this nuclear attack on Russia? So here's what I have to tell you about all of this. There's actually a whole lot to unpack here, but we're going to start with this one. A few weeks ago, Russia's most lethal nuclear missile was put on combat duty. It is called Sarmat. And in the western part of the world, they actually nicknamed this missile Satan II. Now, the upgraded version of this missile was put on combat duty just a few weeks ago. Combat duty means that the missile has been put at a place where it takes just the press of a button for the missile to dispatch and then go to wherever they want it to go to cause mayhem. And this is the missile that I have told us is capable of sinking the whole of New York City or leveling to the ground everything that you see in the state of Texas within 10 minutes. You can go check. It is the strongest of its kind in the whole world. No one else has anything close. And just a few weeks after putting that on combat duty, we're now hearing that Russia is ordering a nationwide nuclear drill. And you think all of this is just for nothing. If you have followed me long enough, especially with respect to the Russia-Ukraine war, You must have heard me say multiple times that Russia's plan or Putin's plan from day one has been to pin all of NATO and their allies down in Ukraine and make sure that they don't go away from there, that they continue the fight inside of Ukraine so that he can effectively and technically bleed them dry economically and militarily. Because the more they pump money into Ukraine to fight, the more they send weapons into Ukraine to fight, the more Russia will destroy those weapons and destroy the guys who carry those weapons, the soldiers who come to fight, even the Ukrainian fighters, even the mercenaries. Russia will keep on killing them. So it becomes like a pit that leads to nowhere. That's what Russia set out to accomplish. I've said this multiple times in the past. I posted about it on my Twitter handle. And it appears pretty much right now that this has been accomplished, because if you have seen the report lately, Russia's economy has done so well that it even surpassed that of the European superpowers like Germany and the rest of them. So the point is, Russia, that has become effectively the most sanctioned country in the world, has its economy rising and rising on daily basis, but then the economy of the people who sanctioned Russia is tanking and teetering on the edge of recession on daily basis. It tells you that whatever it is that they planned against Russia is now happening to them. So here are some of the events that have happened so far that prove to us that these European powers that have been supporting Ukraine and fighting on the side of Ukraine against Russia are actually bleeding a lot economically. Number one, remember, recently we just woke up to the news that Poland is no longer going to be sending weapons to Ukraine. Come on, Poland has been the staunchest of all the European allies that Ukraine has had all through the period of this war. It is through Poland that actually almost all the weapons are moved in to go to Ukraine. But all of a sudden, Ukraine got into a row with Poland over grain shipment. And rather than resolve it quietly, Ukraine went to the media and began to openly chastise Poland, regardless of what they felt about their farmers. And Ukraine even went a little further to report Poland to the World Trade Organization. And Poland was so mad about this. So the Prime Minister came out and said, listen, we are not sending any more weapons to Ukraine because we need to begin to arm ourselves to prepare for any future wars or any future aggression coming from Russia. So they just suddenly woke up and realized that their weapon storage is massively depleted because they have all been fixated on the Ukraine war. They have all been busy supplying weapons and throwing money at Ukraine, hoping that Ukraine, with their allies, will destroy Russia and then everybody will be happy. That has not happened. It hasn't aged any well. And so suddenly now they say, oh no, we don't want to send any more weapons to Ukraine. We want to begin to arm ourselves with modern weapons so that we can prepare for any future aggression from Russia or anyone else. Wake up call. Now, what is the next one that happened? Hungary, of course. Hungary has always been skeptical about this war. So when Hungary had an issue with Ukraine over the so-called language situation that is happening to Hungarians living in Ukraine, Hungary said, for this reason, we are not going to be sending any more. We're not going to partner with Ukraine or collaborate with them on any issues again on the international scene. Which effectively means Hungary is not going to be sending weapons to Ukraine again. And now what about Slovakia? Slovakia is a NATO member state. It joined NATO in 2004. Slovakia, until this moment, has been a madly pro-Ukrainian NATO member state. They have sent weapons, they have sent money, they have done everything up to the last minute. But suddenly there was a parliamentary election. And guess who won? It is a guy who is pro-Russian that won the election. Somebody who has been always open and vocal about his disdain and anger towards the leadership in Kiev. And he kept talking about why this senseless war needed to stop. The guy had always told anyone who cared to know that under his leadership, no dime belonging to Slovakia will go to Ukraine and no weapon from Slovakia will go to Ukraine. This is a NATO member state, just like Hungary, just like Poland. Now that he has won, the chances of him becoming the prime minister of Slovakia is very wide. And obviously, potentially now you know that Slovakia in the next few weeks and months will no longer be able to send weapons to Ukraine under the leadership of this pro-Russian politician. And which one is the latest that just happened yesterday? It is Kevin McCarthy, the US House of Representatives Speaker. He became the first speaker ever in the history of America to be removed. Why was he removed? Allegedly, Kevin McCarthy and his Republican friends agreed as the whole government shutdown was looming. They agreed that no matter what happens, we are not going to allow for more aid to be sent to Ukraine because remember, since the start of the war, America has spent billions upon billions of taxpayer money on Ukraine, equipping Ukraine both in cash and in weapons. And Americans are saying, what is it about this war that we are pumping so much money into the war? We don't know where the war is going. It's not like our Ukraine that we're supporting is winning. It's not like the money is doing anything, but we at home, our people are suffering and going through hell. And the Biden admin constantly keeps pumping this money to Ukraine. There is no assurance that there will be victory. There is even no sign that there's going to be an end soon. And so the guys came together and said, we are not going to do this anymore. As a matter of fact, Ukraine is not a NATO member state, so that you will say, oh, maybe because of the treaty that America has with EU and NATO, maybe that's why America is getting involved. So what is the reason that America has to spend so much money on Ukraine? Whereas in the southern border of the United States of America, it's almost like a historic emergency over there. So much chaos. Illegals are having a field day. American borders have never been so porous ever in history. And even the immigration officials are struggling. They cannot cope because they need so much resources to be able to curtail the madness that is happening at the borders, where people with questionable characters, probably even terrorists, are gaining easy access into the United States of America. People who are drug pushers, people who are child traffickers, they are pouring in on a daily basis, and not much is done to stop them. These guys are saying, whatever we do, let's focus on that. Leave Ukraine alone. If the Europeans feel that Ukraine is an issue, let them deal with it. It's enough. We've done too much already. And then after they agreed on this, the news has it that Kevin McCarthy went from behind and had a secret deal with Biden that after all, they are going to still package something for Ukraine.
President Biden seemed to imply that a deal was made with Speaker McCarthy to pass future funding. This afternoon, Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre didn't exactly offer any clarity when she was asked questions about it. Here was some of her exchange with CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes.
When I asked the president about the prospect of future deals with Speaker McCarthy, he said, we just made one about Ukraine. But it sounds like you're saying they didn't just make one about Ukraine.
What I'm saying is that we know that there's bipartisan support, right, for Ukraine funding.
You see what is happening? He basically let the cat out of the bag and talked about the deal with McCarthy. Democrats also openly admitted that a deal has been reached. And then McCarthy also went to the media. He couldn't even hide it. He alluded to that without knowing when he was talking about the fact that, well, the border is a priority, but then I also want Ukraine to be able to arm themselves and protect themselves. And so his people said, oh, this man has betrayed us. He has gone from behind to go and sell us. That means he is not part of us. So Matt Gaetz, who I call a member of my side of the Republican Party, the hardcore conservative, decided to move a motion for vacate. And that happened. And Kevin now has become the first American House Speaker to be removed. All because of Ukraine, because the fatigue has set in the US even long before it set in on those guys in Europe. You see what is happening? So in all this that I have explained, you can only deduce one thing. What you will deduce from all of this is that it is not going well for these guys in Ukraine. If everybody is getting tired of the war and pulling out, what do you think then is the next step? Do you think that all these lives that were lost throughout this war and all these things that have been spent, the money and the weapons, will just go in vain like that? No. Now, what I believe is that Russians are in possession of credible intelligence to show that NATO, due to their frustration and their inability to make any significant progress in Ukraine, are now planning to provoke Russia directly in a way that Russia will have a nuclear retaliation, which will then start the Third World War. A lot of people do not know that virtually every news you read on mainstream media are generated by the intelligence agencies. You don't know that, right? But the problem is that not even up to a quarter of the news they have is published in the media. They keep the rest of them and work on it. Other intelligence agencies fight every day to get access to the information that their fellow intelligence agencies are carrying with them. So Russian intelligence, I believe, must have gained access to credible intelligence. That's why the report says that an event that NATO carries out a nuclear strike on Russia, what are we going to do? And I believe that whatever intelligence they got was not just now. They got it before they went to put that Sarmat nuclear missile on combat duty. The information came that time, because it was just a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden now we're having a nationwide nuclear drill, meaning that the thing is imminent. At the end of the day, whether you're on the side of Ukraine or on the side of Russia, you have to understand that the overall aim is for mass depopulation of our world. Let me be very honest with you. You know, it's not everything that I know that I share with us in the media. And there's a reason for that. But when I say the much that I say, I always hope and pray that people will take this thing seriously and act. It was just a few weeks ago that someone sent me a video that blew my mind away.
Alexa, who will win the next American election?
The 2024 American election will not take place. There will be no winner. War Powers Resolution of 1973 or the War Powers Act will be invoked by the act of war with Russia and China. Once an invoked, the standing party will retain and remain in power.
In times of war, you never change a commander-in-chief. So that technically puts Biden in power past 2024. Take that and fuse it into what I just shared with us. And tell me if we are not albeit at the edge of the breakout of a nuclear war in our world. If you are in England, in Europe, in America, you are in the big cities, you don't have anything to lose if you found out where the nuclear bomb shelters are. You have nothing to lose if you spare a little money and buy radiation masks and keep them just in case. You have nothing to lose if you have enough money to move into the countryside and you make the move early enough and not get caught up in the chaos when it ensues. You have nothing absolutely to lose. The plan is what was written in the Georgia Guidestone to reduce human population to about 500 million. They have not given up on it. In fact, everything they have done so far has been moving our world in that direction. So you better do what is right when the time is right, because when the time is wrong, I'm telling you, all you've got with you is regrets and nothing but regrets. May that not be your case. And may God help us and protect all of us and shield us from this evil and this madness that is looming around us. God bless you.
Nope, there you go. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm just kidding.